Hi, welcome to the first episode of Breakdowns for Breakfast, the show where I take a look at professionally edited scenes and take apart why they work so well and what we could use from them to incorporate in our own edits, all while I eat my breakfast. Today, we're going to take a look at the opening sequence of The Witcher. So go ahead and watch that scene first, and then go ahead and come back so that we can talk about it. I'll wait. Alright, so let's take a look at the intro for The Witcher 2. Okay, so that right there, that was a really cool, quick effect. So if you guys noticed, when the balls were catapulted off the ship, it kind of went blurry for like a second, and then it went into focus. This is an animation, so that was deliberate. That wasn't like an AC messing up and like, oh, I didn't get the ball in focus. They chose for that to happen, and what that does is put us in the perspective of the archer. So that's probably how the archer saw it, that like quickly it shows and it's like out of focus and he's like focusing in on the balls. He's like, okay, and now it cuts to the action. So it's a really cool kind of cutted sequence to show the perspective of the character that we were just introduced to. If you were to time this in real time, that was about 10 seconds, right? Now the balls were not in the air for 10 seconds. That's a miraculous hang time. But what the quick cuts do between all of these, like all these shots are within, if not less than a second. What that does is it plays an effect on your brain that all of this is happening at once. Now, we can't focus on all of them at once unless we did like a split screen, but basically that's what it would look like. If we were to split all the screens up, then that's what we would see, is him like moving that fast. So in our mind, these cuts are like slowed so that we can process how fast this archer is actually moving. So I like that they included this scene of like the king kind of laughing at these jesters, and these jesters are doing what's essentially like tricks to like entertain a child, and the fact that they cut to the king like laughing at it shows the kind of character that the king is. So again, it's this aspect of like introducing your characters before anything even happens, you know? And so you can do this with your films too. You can find these moments that say something about your character before lines are even hit. Now in this scene, there are no lines, but it's still the same aspect. Nothing has really happened yet. They're just setting up introduction to the characters. So already, within 30 seconds of the scene, we know that the king might be a little bit like childish. Again, adding to this character, they cut to these gestures, and I love that they cut to this shot where they didn't show the trick that they're about to do. They show like the lead up of it, and you already know what's going to happen. So they decided to focus more on the reactions rather than like the action. The guy's holding a torch to the guy's butt. You already know what's going to happen. So don't think you need to show what's going to happen, because we are aware. The fact that the king laughs at it, again, he's laughing at fart jokes, so we kind of have an idea of like who this character is. Meanwhile, we show the sorcerer, who's reacting like this, and it's a funny reaction, but it shows that he's he's more intelligent. Let's say more matured. This sorcerer is like more mature than the king. Okay, so this is a very interesting thing. So this is the first establishing shot that we have seen. Now, traditionally in movies, or at least this is what they teach you in film school, start with an establishing shot, cut to a medium, and then go to a close-up. This whole sequence has done the reverse. We started with an extreme close-up of the archer, and then we were kind of brought out to the party, and it established the party. This cut is really cool because now we see the whole picture. This cut to the pool, like out, is so peculiar because it's not even just like an establishing shot of the boat. It's almost like a bird is watching. It's like a hawk looking down on its prey. And so that's a really interesting cut that they did to kind of pull us out of the party and feel like something's about to happen now. Really cool cut here too. Yeah, so if we're sticking with that Predator analogy of cutting from the ship as if we're like flying over the ship, this shot here of landing, like right, looking right down the mast, is like we've landed. And so now we know that something is going to happen because we're landing now. So we're seeing the fight, and then somebody is boarding the ship. Now that this guy is boarding, we know the danger as the audience member. They cut from this shot to the king, right in between the fighters. You know, they didn't cut to the fighters doing their thing like how they did in the earlier shots. They cut to the king. The king is like, now the king is the focus. It adds to his character that not only is he like immature, he's also unaware of the danger on his ship. It's clever to cut to this shot specifically because you have blurry people in the foreground, and then in the background, in focus, is the king, who is oblivious. So now that we see the drum roll is increasing, the cuts are starting to, the pace of the cuts are starting to create, that we're getting quicker cuts. So something is building up. Our heart's racing along with the drum beat. Faster cuts. We're like, whoa, 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 what's going to happen? He's pulling out something mysterious. Whoa, what is he going to do? Now, I thought this was really cool. This is a really cool shot to cut to of the sorcerer's reaction. And you have the two fighters in the foreground so in focus that that's what our eyes want to be drawn to, but you can see in the back the potion that the Witcher threw. So cutting from the reaction of the sorcerer to that shows that the sorcerer is on guard. He is capable of recognizing threats. He sees this, and it's so small in the frame. You know, they're taking this moment for the sorcerer to notice it. So it finally hits. So all that was like a build-up. All those fast cuts, everything. You know, even though it was moving in slow motion, the cuts were still pretty fast, and the music was still going. So our heart was still racing, even though it was in slow motion. So now, with that all being said, now we have established 3 characters and 1 antagonist. So we have the archer. His character was established with the shooting. The king, who's kind of, you know, goofy and mature, and the sorcerer. So now with these cuts, we have proven that these people are capable of protecting the king. We've shown their skill set. So now we're going to get a chance to see the antagonist's skill set. These are all things that you can find within your own film, and it's all because of the cuts that were made that has made this such a good setup. So the action hasn't even started yet, really, but all these setups have played key points, so now we know what to expect from each character. And I love like the cut to like dead silence, because, you know, we were in a party, we were having fun, and now it's just like dead silent, and it's eerie. It's like, what's gonna happen? And I love this shot too. I love going to like a very slow break in the wood. So again, like I said, I don't know about you, but when I first saw this scene, you know, he threw that and the whole ship froze, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, okay, so he froze the ship, but now what's he going to do? But seeing this reveal that the ship is now cracking, it's adding to the stakes, but it's also, again, it's showing the character of the Witcher that he has planned this. He knew that this was going to happen and that this would be his chance to attack. So now everything is going in slow motion, and having that beautiful music in the background is just so beautiful. Just showing the destruction of everything. So we established that the archer is a good shot. And so when we get to this shot here, it's really cool because they decided to hang on it for so long. You see the archer pulling back. You've seen his skill. So you know that he can hit this guy who is not far away at all, running towards him. Now, they could have cut to the archer pulling back the bow. They could have then cut to the attackers like running towards it. So they could have cut to him and like, oh, he's going to shoot at me. And then they could have shown the archer let go of the arrow. Instead, what they decided to do as editors is stay on this one shot. Part of it is cinematography, but it's the editing choice to stay on the shot for so long that makes it so impactful. So we see in slow motion all of it. So we see that the archer's pulling back. We still see Lithos running towards us. Instead of getting hit, they do that. They reveal that the ship is shaking. And that is what kind of like, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, he's going to get shot, or he's going to like block it, or he's going to do... All these things in my head keep racing of like, what's going to happen? And it's just the shake. You are, as an editor, are presenting all these possibilities of what could happen in the next few seconds, and then revealing what's going to happen in the next few seconds. And it's like, oh. Of course, the arrow misses, and I love that little, like, he saw it. Because I think that's what's cool, too, is that, and this might be me too, like, artsy and, like, analyzing, but him seeing the arrow pass, I think shows that he could have dodged it, but he knew that it was going to miss him. Now, cutting to this shot is really cool, too, because now, it's no camera trick. It's showing how far these two are from each other. So we can clearly see, like, the battlefield of how close Lithos is getting. So now he misses again, and see, this time Lithos dodges it. So now, not only, the first time we're like, oh, maybe he got lucky. Now this is the second time, and he is dodging the arrow. So now we know, wow, okay, this guy is dangerous. He knows magic. He knows how to dodge. Like, he knows how to do combat. So now that the gap is closing, and that the danger is increasing, this is all done with the cutting of this scene. And so this is a really good shot to cut to, because we saw this shot earlier. We saw the shot earlier when he first shot the arrow, and he seemed so small, the Witcher. He seems so small and far away, and then now getting back to this shot of referring a familiar shot to now, we see that the gap is now completely closed. So now we got some time remapping, and the cool thing here is like the speed up and like slow down effect. These are simple effects. You could do this within Adobe Premiere, and it's very simple, but a huge effect. And so what it does is kind of builds this smoothness to all the action, and that's what's really cool about this. It's almost like before it was like chess pieces, where like the archer's doing this, Lithos is doing this. Now Lithos is doing his complete move. He is doing his finale. And so like the slowdown and the thing, it's all one smooth movement. Oh, so cool. What's cool about this shot coming up, they show his head. Well, so that's the cool part, is that they don't show his head getting chopped off. So again, you as an editor are writing the story. So we can see that they had shots of like the king close up to the camera and his head getting chopped off. But they decided to cut to this shot, and I think this was a wise decision. What this shot does is it hides that his head is actually getting chopped off. Now, they're obviously not afraid to like show carnage, because we just saw a dude get blown up by a fireball. But it's this particular kill that gets chosen to be hidden. And what that does is it adds to the story of like the secrecy of what's going on. And I think that's what the premise of this game is. I haven't played the game fully. I've probably gotten like past the tutorial, and that's about it. But I think that's the premise of the story, is that this guy assassinates kings. So it adds to the element of like secrecy and conspiracy, that this is like now being hidden. And so it's a wise shot to cut to. As an editor, you are also a writer. Try to find shots like this that add to your story. Again, they could have stuck on the shot that's close up with the king, and they could have shown the head getting chopped off, but it's so explicit, it's so vivid. Really beautiful shot. Really like excellent choice on the editor's part to cut to this. It's beautiful. And I love that look where he stands up off the thing and he's like, where did I park my car? We're cutting back now at the end to that bird's view, as if we flew down, caught our prey, and flew away. As you are editing your films, think of ways to find moments like that. Think of ways to like put the audience members in a perspective that you want them to. I really like it. I really love this scene. It's very it's very cool to establish the skill set of characters before the action even happens. Because if you think about it, the action part, like as far as like the killing, happens within a matter of seconds. It's all the buildup and all the tension and all the establishment of each character's skill set, and that's what made this so interesting to watch. Alright guys, and that was the scene. Thank you for joining me on the very first episode of Breakdowns for Breakfast. Now I plan to do a lot more of these, so if there's a scene you want me to watch and break down, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and then subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you can stay updated on the content that I make. And we'll stay tuned. We'll see you later. I said we, like I have multiple personality disorder. I don't know why I said that. I'll see you later. I don't know who we is.